are doing Minuet 2. Well done, everybody. So, this is one of your exam pieces, I remind you. And a big mountain piece for the students. Sarah, can you tell me one thing that you think makes it a mountain piece for the students?
The amount of string crossing.
The string crossing, absolutely right. Irem, something else?
D sharp.
Very good. First high three, exactly. And another thing?
The triplets.
Good, first triplets. And the first? Anyone, not just Jackie. It's the first time we have triplets and it's the first time we have a at the same moment. Slur.
Okay.
So not only do we have a triplet for the first time, we have a slur for the first time, and then in bar 23 and 24 we also have the first high three. So it's a load of new stuff all chucked at them at once. So on any mountain piece, we are thinking about it well in advance, so that we are doing a lot of preview, so that we can manage how many new things are going to be thrown at them.
Can I just ask, did he do that deliberately? Put suddenly all the stuff in a...
So we know that the idea of the, can someone just turn the computer please? Of the learning curve being like this, was on purpose, that he was the first, oh nobody can see that, I will bring it closer in a minute, that the purpose of having these bigger challenges and then smaller challenges mixed up together means that overall, if you plot the increase in skills, it's higher than if you go up the staircase a la book, you know, grade exams. I've written my staircase wrong to make my point.
Just seems a hell of a lot of things in one, even with that concept in mind.
So that this would be a much less steep curve.
Yeah.
But also that it means it's much more pleasurable for the student to have, like, here is your big challenge. You know, like they do reading challenges at school that everybody buys into. You do something where you're really focused on something for a bit and then you kind of go back to like normal life. That we as humans like to have something that is a project and then to kind of, you know, be able to focus on a different project or whatever. So, so yes, it was on purpose, but also I think it needs managing so that it's not just a brick wall, because if you get to a piece and it feels like a brick wall, then your motivation is going to go right down. And that's not going to help. So just to show you, anybody watching at home, so the top diagram is for how Suzuki pieces are designed, that we have these big mountain pieces. For example, in book one, what would we consider to be the biggest mountain pieces? First one? Yep. And then, which other mountain pieces do we have in book one?
It's the
Yes, so come little children. Two people have said that already. The next one?
Sorry, the wind is a mountain piece of it, isn't it? As well.
I mean, it's got some tricky things in it. I wouldn't call it a mountain piece. If it helps your student to call it a mountain piece, then do, as long as they're not thinking every piece is. Forward, forward. Yes, well done. So we might think of this is not a perfect diagram, but we might think, you know, well, the twinkle's obviously just learning to play the instrument. There's a massive mountain. And then we've got, you know, like Lightly Rose, Song of the Wind, Going to Like Radio. Oh, come little children. Some more pieces. Woo! Etude. And then up here we're going to have Minuet 2 and we're going to have Gossec Gavotte. Whereas in the ABRSM or just books that are very gradually just ever increasing, you are always struggling with the next thing. You never get a feeling of like, oh wow, I can do this really easily now. And that is not great for motivation, and also means that overall the speed of learning is slower. Okay. So, it's also got a fast arpeggio, then extra notes at the beginning. I mean, in some ways, it would be much nicer if it kind of went G, D, G, B, G, B, B, G. I can't sing the notes that quickly. But you know, if it was just an arpeggio with open strings beforehand, but it's not. So the first two bars, well, the first bar is a massive challenge. So we make sure that we are doing the G major scale and arpeggio a lot from when they learn it. And we might try and do the arpeggio quite fast. But if you look at Minuet 2 and you think about what is a block of, if you imagine you had Tipex and you're going to Tipex out everything they can already do from the scale and the arpeggio, we are left with not very much. Like take out the first four notes, take out the first four notes of the third bar, everything in bar 7 is by step, then an open string, then the same. Bar 13 and 14 are all bits of scales, bar 15 is a scale, but then you just have the bowing to contend with. 17 is all by step, 19 is all by step, 21 is all by step, 23 and 4 are a big challenge, 25 is all scales, that whole line. 29, 30 we have a challenge, but not in the left hand, just in the bowing, and then you're back to the beginning. So if you're really good at your scales and arpeggios by this point, you are well ahead of what you could be struggling with. Annoyingly, the way that they've printed this book has preview on page 40, which is after the music. So let's have a look through page 40 with violins, please.
So we should put this page before.
But we should do page 40 before Minuet 2.
Yeah.
But also page 36, isn't it?
All of these pages are out of order, basically. Of course, an editor made those decisions, not a musician.
Yeah.
Violins? So also, they give us an in-depth way to approach two bars and not the two bars that are the most difficult in the piece. Which are which two bars?
This one.
Which two bars are the most difficult in the piece, do you think?
The one with the triplets, the first.
I think the first two.
The first two are.
Yeah. And the first two bars. So there's nothing about the two most challenging bits. Okay, so they show us for this. I apologise for this. It's actually not a revolting violin, but it's not as nice as mine. Okay, so we're going to play that. 1, 2, 3. And the way to do it is, ready? And then I think they've just given us the up bow. Ready? Play. So that you can just go down, 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 up, 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 down, 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 up, up, rather than a retake, but they don't need the up, ups.
No.
Okay.
So, you know, just be aware of that. So they can practice this. It's good for them. Okay, good. And then, so what often happens is you get this, that they can't control their bow and their fingers at the same time. If they're not ready to move on to the second exercise on the second line, then you just keep them on the first half, the separated. Should be able to turn quite quickly into. Join me. Good. Great. So, and then we have this retake, and then the bow practice for. And again, they've kind of shown you and then broken it down. So we want to do short bows. Would anybody like to guess what happens here when the students don't know what they're doing?
Probably up or down, or they will not be able to connect it.
Yes, they'll get the bowing. They might do just separate bows, or they might do.
Up because on the previous song is always up.
Yeah, they've done so much up now. It's hilarious when they start doing the minuets. You find them. They'll, if you ask them to play, go till I'm ready. Suddenly, like they're doing up-ups all the time. Some of them. So yes, definitely that you find this. And wouldn't it have been nice if actually that was the bowing that was in the book? That's challenge, but never mind. So you have to be careful with that. And then we have the first double string crossing, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is fun. And it's on the first like 2 bars.
Yes.
So,
So there are more previews that we need to do, but while we're on this page, let's just finish going through it. Finger exercise number 4. I think the first one, this one, is very helpful. Definitely do that. The last two lines, I would say, are for the students who just gobble notes and want extra things. I think it's perfectly possible to have a student play all of book one very nicely without ever having done these, especially if you're doing finger marches, which we're going to cover another time. But let's just play. Sorry, it's not on a music stand, so our posture will all go awful, but just have a look at the music and 1, 2, ready, play. Keep 1 and 2 on. Repeat. So, as I said, I think you can replace those with other things.
Can you just, you know where it says 1, keep 1 down in brackets?
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about all that. When you said when descending, don't keep fingers down. So would you not keep your fingers down there? Because it.
No, you would, because you've ascended. So why would you take it off?
Oh, okay.
In order to. So it's like if you were doing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't block the fingers and then take them off as you come down. But if you were doing, you would keep them on.
Okay.
So when you've descended, having ascended, you keep them on because they're there already.
Yeah.
So if we think about something that we know really well, like perpetual motion, by the time you get to there, you've got all your fingers on.
Yeah.
Blah blah, second phrase. But here, you've just put the 3 by itself.
Okay.
Keep it on because it's been there already.
Yeah.
By itself. Keep it on.
Yeah.
By itself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. But the first one in that, where it's just the one's in brackets.
Yeah, I would definitely place the one there.
Yeah.
And it's just, why would we want the one to be on if you're just doing 4 and 3?
Handshake.
Handshake, exactly. To develop a good frame in the left hand.
Yeah.
When you say the part that says yellow with
Hot pink 3, that's the finger patterns that we're going to talk about.
okay.
Maybe this afternoon. I just need to look at what I need to do for that. Have you got it on your computer? The 12 finger pattern colours?
Oh,
Yeah, so if you have a look at it, it will make sense.
I put my twinkle, pre-twinkle steps as well on the book. Is it
Yeah, perfect.
before the?
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, these things. Obviously, Dr. Suzuki wasn't expecting the Suzuki approach to become what it is now, and he was very adamant that he never wanted a handbook, that he wanted everything to be passed down from himself to teachers who then taught other teachers. But things like this, I just think, well, if you wanted them to have the one on, why didn't you make it an exercise that goes... Because then you can't do it without the one on. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not a criticism, just a question. Okay, so back to Minuet 2. Please be very clear about your 4s and your open strings.
Back to?
Minuet 2. Did I say 1? Sorry, Minuet 2.
Be aware of the fours.
4s and open strings. Can you each just think one sentence description of the fourth finger rule that you can say to your students. Remember, the fourth finger rule is,
If you don't.
yeah, just think about it so that everyone can do it at the same time. Remember, you with me?
Yes.
Think
and I
about
know-
what the fourth finger rule is, how you would say it, don't say it yet.
Okay.
You're desperate
Can
to
I
do
say
it.
it in
I
my
will
way?
ask you first. I will ask you first. Has everybody got that in their heads?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Can I say it in my way to move the arm a bit forward?
That's very good. We do want to move the arm forward, especially on the lower strings. I'm talking about when you would use four and when you would use open string
In the minute.
in music, in violin.
Oh, okay. Let me think about the scale. When you go up open strings.
Not as one rule for always, nearly always.
Okay. If it's a majority notes on the same string, we use finger 4.
Do you think that a 5-year-old is going to understand what that
No.
means? So can you
Okay.
think of
So
a way that you
so-
can explain it
Okay.
as simply as possible?
Okay. So there are 3 friends. Another one joined to them. For example. Instead of
This is all very good, but it's not quite what I'm after. Sarah, what do you have?
If you have to change string to do an open string, then do 4. But if you don't, if
This is why we're doing this exercise right now. If I was 5, well,
Oh, no.
probably would it be 5, 7, let's say. I'm a little bit confused now.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a try?
Sure. If you step up on the music, on scale, you use open string. If you come down,
This is all very good stuff, but we want one sentence. Would you like another go, or do you want me to tell you?
You showed us something about the steps, but was it about finger 4?
was it what?
I
Was
don't
No,
think
it was
so.
jump. It was a step jump. It was something else.
Was that about the string crossing? What you said last
It's
week?
string crossing is part of it.
use
Sarah, do you want another go?
use open string unless it's easier to use finger 4. But
We're so nearly there. This has taken me years
unless
to
you
perfect.
don't
So
have to change.
Okay, here it is,
Avoid
here
changing the string.
here it is. If you can avoid a string crossing
Yeah.
by using 4,
Yeah.
use 4. If the string crossing is unavoidable, use open.
So force equals easier string crossing, open equals more difficult string crossing.
That is in allegretto, isn't it? Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
just about that
It's
piece.
different? Okay.
Yeah, so the fourth finger rule is something that we're introducing at this point. For some students, some kids will just be like, and others will be like, oh, okay, yeah, get that. And some kids will be like, yeah, I've got that, and have it wrong. And that all applies to the parents as well. So, the fourth finger rule, for example, if you are going to look at bar 12 into 13 in Minuet 2, we want to use 4 because we can avoid a double string crossing. If we use open here, we have a double string crossing. If we have 4, it's only one string crossing. In bar 23 into 24, here we can use a 4 and avoid the string crossing entirely until here, at which point we can't avoid the string crossing because the F sharp is on the E string, so therefore it makes no sense to use a 4 and we use open E.
Which one?
23 and 24. Well, bar 24 by the time we get there.
Use for finger to avoid double string crossing.
If you can avoid a string crossing by using 4, do it. So 25 into 26, if we use the 4, there's no string crossing. If we used open, there is a string crossing. We don't need that string crossing.
what did you say about the bar 24? I missed it. Can you?
That the first E must be a 4 because both notes on either side are on A, so you can avoid the string crossing
Okay.
by using 4. But the second E needs to be open because the note after it is on E string, so you can't avoid the string crossing, so make it easier by using open. Bar 5 is a bit more complicated, but it does help here in that if we did the open strings, open, this is a double string crossing, which is hard, but if we put a 4 in, we avoid one of the string crossings, but then it's hard as well, so we stagger it. And your string crossing is always easiest at the heel because of levers, and you know, this is a smaller movement than this, So that is something, it does correspond to the 4th finger rule, but really don't try and explain it to the students, just tell them it's 4, 4 and then E, and make sure you know that yourself.
Did you say string crossing's easier at the heel?
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say easier, some kids will find it harder, smaller.
Yeah, right.
If they have done what some people call the donkey, or the 3 staying on the D and then 4 going on the A in Minuet 1, really well, they will have no problem with. If they haven't done it well, more review please. Okay. The tick boxes. Heavy elbow, I'll explain in a minute. String crossing. Memory. Intonation. Boxes. Tone. Dynamics.
Wow.
Yep, one more. And bowing. Some kids will not need intonation, but most of them will. Some kids will not need tone, but most of them will. If they don't need it, remember to think, is this a child who needs a boost? So you can write it and you can say, you're so good at your tone, I never need to help you with your tone, so let's just give it a tick, and they'll be like, oh. Or if they don't need that and they're, you know, full of self-confidence, then you can just not worry about it. I'm going to give you the repetition boxes and then we'll go through the review. So the first 2 bars 10 times. Write in up, up for them because they will not be good enough at understanding the bowing to know that the slur with dots means separated up bows yet.
Did you say 10 times?
Yep. Hopefully you've got students who can do 10s now by the end of book 1.
I was looking earlier, you know when someone said purple patches, I don't know who it was, but it's quite
Yeah,
nice.
Heather Clemson.
Does that mean, are they repetition boxes or does she use that for tick boxes? So I was going to...
I think they're repetition boxes.
Right.
It's a nice phrase.
It is.
My purple pen's broken, so
Oh,
I need to buy myself a purple pen and then maybe I will take it on board. I don't know. It's tricky though, because also my students, like if I say to them, what are we going to do with this bit? It's really tricky. They will all say, put it in a box,
yeah.
which
Oh, right.
doesn't quite work so well for make it a purple patch. I guess it
Yeah.
does, but yeah, maybe I'm just being resistant for other reasons.
Think of some other things. I was just going to try and think of something.
Yeah.
Gold boxes for tick boxes, maybe. Anyway.
From part 12 to 13, you wrote something Minuet.
Like Minuet 1.
Yes. What is this?
This bit, if they have done this properly. In Minuet 1,
Okay.
then they will be able to do this with no problem.
Oh yeah.
So far we've got repetition box 1 and 2.
Yeah, and then 15 and 16 with the preview written on page 40.
What did you say? Sorry.
15 and 16
Yes.
is a repetition box,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the preview is written out on page 40 for you. Bar 23 and 24. And then bar 29 and 30. Some people will need the bar before 28, or well, if they have trouble remembering that retake, I think you need to go from here because it's so difficult to jump in any other time, but that makes it a really long box for a young child. So hopefully, for most of my students, they will just do the retake once we put it in context.
Okay. So, but if they don't, should we start at 25 or just about before?
You can. I think it's easier to play from 25 than it is to start at the bar 24. But again, it depends on the psychology of the student. If they think a huge box, oh my god, I can't do that, then maybe it's easier for them to start at the tip on the F sharp. But this, as a starting point, is quite unmusical, difficult for lots of children.
Couldn't you start on 26? That wouldn't be too
You
hard.
could. You just have to try these things.
Yeah.
You know, they'll be different for each child, and as the more you try them, the more you realise which is the most usual way to find it okay. We have, broadly speaking, an ABA structure, but it's more complex than Minuet 1. Again, we're not getting too bogged down in the structure for Book 1 students. And do you have the list of new things introduced in this piece?
Yes.
What is it?
So slur triplets, high 3, and double crossing.
Good. Slurs,
Slurs,
Triplets.
triplets.
high 3, and the double string crossing. going to do. My turn, your turn. So violins, please.
They did Minuet 1, but we are not ready for Minuet 2.
Yeah, so while they're finishing off Minuet 1, as they're getting towards getting a credit, this is the
so
preview
of Minuet 1.
of Minuet 2. They are playing, in their lesson they can play this kind of standard. They probably have 2 more weeks, just move out the way of the camera please, before they get their credit, but they can play it through. So then they're ready for something new, which is preview for Minuet 2.
Exactly.
So this is the preview for Minuet 2 that we are going to do now. Yeah? So no fingers, put their fingers here, otherwise they try and use them. My turn, your turn. Ready, go. Obviously you pick this up very quickly, but for some of them it's quite confusing, the double A, so it takes a while. And then my turn. Big bow, small bow, small bow, and we have little scoops at the bottom. Ready, and big bow, scoop, scoop. Okay, and so what we want to do with the students is try and neaten here, so that we don't have this. So stop, and then it's like a Nike swoosh. You want the end of the bow to go up to the D, but once it's stopped. I wasn't clear, sorry. So my turn, and then just find yourself ready for the next bow, but don't start. Ready, go. So the end of the bow is the tip up to the D string, but it's not moving up bow yet. Lovely, and then we start the D string. Where are we starting the D string? Notes. What drives it? Which part of your body? Which part? Elbow, exactly. So, my turn. Elbow, elbow. Ready, play. Okay, can we make the sound more beautiful? Ready, go. Can you use your scoopy elbow for the up bows? Second one, beautiful. First one. So you're coming in towards you. Just do this against your side. So you're kind of scooping in towards your body. Circle down. Circle. Just do up bow retakes. That's it. And then 2 ups. And it's the same thing, like the bottom half of both of them. Yes, exactly. So you initiate that up bow from the elbow. It's weird. So E, those 3 notes. Elbow, good, nice. Good. Great, and then probably you've exaggerated it for your student and you will have to sort it out. Wow, this violin has a screw.
Oh wow.
I was like, that feels really weird. Presumably that's a, it's a repair.
With the screw, that's wild.
It's wild. Interesting. Anyway, it's one of the violins we use for the beginner parents. Okay, so I would set them that for a week, 10 times, just open strings, just that. And then we put the notes in. So they should be able to do this. Easy peasy because it's an arpeggio. Ready, play. And then we have to add the A and the F sharp. Ready, play. And then add the G. But I would just stop there for now, because finding the 3, bringing the elbow forward, it's a whole load of extra information for them to do. So then we put it all together, just those first 7 notes. Good, and often what happens here is that, because they've done all of those bows the same length, so we have to work on releasing the arm to get that long G at the top. they can add these, and then we put the double string crossing Nike swoosh together with that, and then you have the perfect box.
So we do the Nike first, and then we do the sauce rest.
Yeah. So by that point, they can play the first 2 bars. They may be now finished. Well, finished. They might have their credit for Minuet 1,
What do you tell them?
or they might not.
When you're introducing that open string exercise, would you tell them to be thinking musically around it? You don't actually.
No, it's just a like mechanical get your bow on the right string so that when you add the fingers, your bow knows what it's doing.
Right.
If you've got a very musical child, they will go towards the long note in the middle, beginning of the second bar. But if you don't, if they're just playing it like this, great. Like, don't try and concentrate on anything else really.
Yeah.
Good. So by this point, they're probably playing the piece, or very nearly playing the piece, or starting the piece. And you can choose when you introduce the bar 15 and 16 preview. You know, some kids love preview, they know that it makes it easier when they get there, they want to do it. They're bored of doing Minuet 1, they want new things. Other kids are like, no, I can't cope with anything more apart from Minuet 1. So then you have to kind of encourage them just to do the preview on the first 2 bars, open strings. Shout when you're ready for more. Okay, ready for more?
Yeah.
Most of my students will do this in 2 halves. Some of them will get a credit for the first half and then a credit for the second half. Others approach it in 2 halves but still put it together before they go for the credit. Same with Minuet 1.
Oh, okay. First half. They do first half.
Some of them. If they don't find it easy and they need a lot of encouragement, I would recommend doing 2 credits for each half in Minuet 1 and in Minuet 2 and in Minuet 3 and in most of their pieces forever on. Not in Happy Farmer. But it's a sort of sticking plaster approach, so don't just use it with everyone. I would say Minuet 1, probably 1 in 10 of my students needs to do it in 2 credits, whereas Minuet 2, 7 out of 10. Do 2 halves. A credit for the first half, a credit for the second half, and then put together. Are you ready?
Yeah.
We approach 23 and 24 in a very similar way to the beginning and the other triplet students, mostly what we're going to do is think about this part first. We're going to do that a few times together in the lesson. So the notes from the second beat of 23 to the end of the 24, ignoring the triplet. Just like 3 times each maybe. And then we're going to play. Not worrying about the bowing. That might be the box that they have to do. It depends how, how their left hand's working for them. But I think with most of my students we get to the stage where they can play it. So then we do this. Okay, it's easy, it's the same as the other one, but just starting with the 1 on and going up to 3. And it's helpful for them to use more bow on that because they have these 2 up bows coming. Hop onto the 1 and the A string, and then you have that high 3. So I would say that this probably takes 15 minutes often, just these 2 bars with a student, 10 to 15 minutes. But what I want them to do is be able to play it when they're focusing really well, is to be able to play it with stops and thinking time, but accurately before they go home on that first time that they've done it.
The whole bar.
Those 2 bars.
Yeah, 2 bars.
Yeah. And then they might mess up their bowing sometimes, they might forget the high 3 sometimes, but they know they've done what they're aiming for. For some students, it might be enough to do this. And then add this later. But I really like to try and get all of it in because there's that pattern of having the 3 and then the high 3 and then the E. And I find if I miss out the last few notes that they then use a 4 again, which I don't want them to do.
Did you say practice it without the first triplet as well?
Yeah, so when you first introduce it, we play. Shall we do it?
Yeah.
So this is the first time you've ever played the second half of Minuet 2, anything in the second half of Minuet 2, for example. So, okay, we're going to show you this tricky box here. My turn, your turn. Ready, play. Good. Stretch your 3 into the black space above your 3 tape. They will all have a 3 tape, I hope, because we need it into book 3 for shifting. So even if they have no other, well, they probably will have a 1 by now, but that will be there to show them. Best friends to 4. Great. Pick up the 4, you've got the 3 waiting. Okay, take everything off, open knee, drop your elbow. And 1. Okay, my turn. Stretch. 4. Ready? Go. Stretch. Best friends. Good. And you might need to do that a few times. My turn. Ready? Play. Stretch. Best friends. Pick up 4. Opening. So remind them of the instructions as they're playing. They need to hear it before they have to do it, because otherwise there's no time for them to focus on what you're saying. And then ready, play. Good, and so if they can't do that, you take it at whatever speed they need to. And then, so let's say they've got to that stage where they can just kind of do that now, even slowly and really thinking hard, but they can do it. And then, okay, you know how to do this. Let's just do that. Ready, play. Good, this one is similar. It's got a low 2, but the 1 is down when we start and it goes to 3 instead of 2. So, my turn. Ready, play. Great, and then we're going to add the 1. My turn. Ready, play. Good, and then we're going to stop that bow in the middle. My turn. Half a bow, ready, play. Excellent, and now you're going to add your high 3, stretch that 3 really, really far, and go up again. Good, and now my turn, we can play this bit really easy now. So they're ready, waiting like you are, and we play. Okay, done the whole of that 2-bar box correctly, and that might be as much as they can do. They might need to stop. You might need to make a video for them that says just exactly what we just did, so they can play along with it, or their parent might be able to help them do that. Depends on how, you know, competent the parent is with this stuff and confident. But hopefully they will spend a week at the lowest level practicing it like this. Stop, stretch your 3, find the right space, go up, and then. Or at the highest level they will have put it all together and practice it like that. So that's the range you're ideally going for.
When you said about the tape, wouldn't they have all the tapes on anyway, from ages?
This is something that I was going to, was remembering I haven't talked to you about.
No.
I think that it's helpful somewhere during the minuets 2 to 3 to take the 2 tape off.
Okay.
I don't like 1, low 2, high 2, 3, high 3, 4 so much.
When I started, they didn't put any tape on my violin.
Yeah, they still don't for most students. That's a whole other conversation we're going to have another time. In short, you use your eyes to train your ears, because eyes will help your ears. If you are learning with nothing, you are only relying on your ears, and that is less helpful for students. I don't have any students who've ever got to book 5 with all their tapes on and can't play the notes in tune without the tapes. It's, you know, it's like, that's the concern. When people say that they don't want to put tapes on, they worry that the children will never be able to play without them, but that's not my experience, or anyone else in Suzuki. Okay, so if you have the 1 tape, the 3 tape, and maybe a dot for 4, that I prefer to put a dot on A for 4 rather than another tape, then that means that you have a really clear, right, high 2 lives next to 3 tape, low 2 lives next to 2 tape, next to 1 tape, and your high 3 goes in that black gap between the 3 and the 4 stickers.
What did you say last one? Black?
Gap. So if I had a 4 spot,
Yes.
that shows a
Black
really,
gap.
a really obvious black space for the high 3. And then the last box that you need to do slowly with them is the 29 and 30, which we have on page 40 and also we've talked about already. At this point in my book I have not put the coloured lines in. I don't know why for Minuet 2. I guess I just didn't bother.
Did you say something about us doing it, apart from just that we need to do it?
We've already done it. We've already talked about how to do it from page 40.
Yeah.
You can put the lines in if you want for the structure.
And when would you take the tape 2 off? Can't remember.
I mean, I kind of do an end of book 1 check that they don't have a 2 tape,
Yeah.
and hopefully not the 4 stripe if they've had a 4 stripe.
Yeah.
I tend not to use a 4 stripe. I tend to use a dot, which I think can still be on there for book 2. And some of my students, we take the 1 tape off.
Yeah.
So, but most book 2 students, I would say, have a 1 and a 3 tape at the beginning of book 2, and something for the 4.
So they start with all
So they start with
1,
this,
2, 3.
but hopefully coloured, which we're going to talk about when we do the finger pattern discussion. But different colours are really helpful, even if it doesn't associate itself with the red and blue finger patterns. But definitely this is like a standard for the beginners. And then at some point you probably want to use, like when they do perpetual motion, you probably add a 4 something.
Yeah.
Some of mine have a little butterfly sticker, or, you know, it doesn't have to, I don't like a stripe, but just something else. And then by the end of book 1, we want to take the 2 tape off. So they've got 1, 3 and 4 indicators, and maybe not 1.
Which 8 famous notes on Conway, which ones they are?
I'm not going to answer that because I want you to look through Gavotte
Yeah, I am
and tell me
trying to
which you
find-
think are going to be the 8 famous notes.
Okay.
So that is the last thing for us to say. 1 minute to 1, thank you. Irem, preview the 8 famous notes in Gossett Gavotte. Write it at the bottom of this page. Just make sure you start somewhere.
It says bar
During-
20. Bar 20 in maybe number 2 or bar 20?
Irem, preview is something coming up. So it's
Oh.
bar 20 of Gossett.
Oh.
It can't be bar 20 of Minuet too,
Yes,
because we were
that's
on it.
right.
Yeah.
Ah.
So we'll talk about that when we get to Gossett, how to do that preview, but just make sure you've got it written here.
Yeah.
Sometime during Minuet 2 or Minuet 3. Maybe even Minuet 1 if you have a child, you know, those kind of kids who like those exercises like the do, who like a tick list of little extra things to do. Brilliant, you can start it really early. And we have finished Minuet 2. Woo! Only 3 pieces to go.
The preview will be only the 8 notes.
8 famous notes, yeah.
That's such a nice piece. I really like it.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember it was my favourite when I was a kid. God, I found my book. It hasn't got any previews or any exercises at all. It's so old.
It might have been in your parents' notebooks.
I don't know how accurately I did it because I was at school. when I was 10.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't
that
really-
is, if you do it without parent help, it is
Yeah.
completely different.
Mm.
Any questions about Minuet 2?
Mm.
For
No,
review,
Great.
everything that has G major,
Everything
and then the boxes.
for review. Yes, G major, anything, including some people might do. It depends how easy they find it to pick out new keys for old pieces, but they might do go to Rhodium G. For example. Or they might just play the, lots of Minuet 1 and also the pieces that are on DNA and your Minuet bowing twinkle.